All right, y'all. Today, what we are going to look at is we are going to go ahead and look and see what we can figure out with how we can find area of composite figures. So we've been reviewing area already, and area is how much something takes up on the inside. It's that two-dimensional figure. And so we've reviewed area of rectangles, parallelograms, squares, trapezoids, and circles. So basically, why we did that is so if we had to ask a question about the area of this shape, if you were to get this question and they asked you what the area was, you can't identify this shape because this is what's called an irregular figure or a composite figure. And what that means is when two or more shapes are pushed together to make an unidentified shape, if you will, or an irregular figure or composite figure, saying it's something we can't label. So looking at our dimensions, we see that right here is 4 feet. We see this is 1 foot right here. This is 3 feet, and this is 5 feet. So basically what we need to do is break up this shape into 2 or more shapes that we can identify. So then we can find the area of each and then add them together. So when you look at this, some of you might say, well, I can break it up this way, or and I can even break it up this way again and have 3 shapes to where we're going to figure out the missing side lengths. But what I would suggest to you is to make sure that you want to do as few amount of shapes as possible. So the reason why we want you to do that is that way you don't have to have as many areas, okay, as many shapes. So we would figure out the area right here of this shape, which is a rectangle. So we could say length times width, or base times height. And this is also a rectangle, so we could say base times height or length times width. So once you know the area of this first shape and this second shape, we would add that up. And we're going to get into that a little bit more later, but all we want you to focus on today is splitting the shape up. Okay, so here's 2 ways you could have done it. So this was your original shape, so we could have broken it up like that, or we could break it up this way. So this green area is one rectangle, this pink area is another, or we could have broken it up this way. So it's okay that you can do it more than one way, okay? So right here, we have an irregular shape, kind of looks like a basketball court. We got the free throw line over here. So you want to ask yourself, what 2 shapes do you see? Hopefully you said a rectangle and a semicircle, because if we were to do it like that, this is that whole circle right there. But we don't really have, this part is overlapping with that rectangle. So this is really how you would break it up. So this first shape right here is a rectangle. So when we're ready to find the area of this, we would find the area of that rectangle. The second shape is that semicircle, which we reviewed in our previous lesson. So we would have to do area equals pi times radius, divide by 2. So making sure that we know our different area rules or formulas. Okay, so right here, ask yourself what you see. And hopefully you said a triangle and a rectangle. Okay, so if you keep going, again, on this one, you could break these up in multiple ways, but you want to do as few amount of shapes as possible, because that way you're finding the area of each of those and adding them all up. So you should break this up into 3 shapes. What some students will do is say, well, I broke it up even more. I know that's not perfect, but pretend that those were a little straighter. And they could say 1 rectangle, 2 rectangles, 3 rectangle, this is your 4th, and this is your 5th. But ask yourself, do you really want to find the area of 5 shapes and add that up? Or it's a little bit easier to find the area of 3 rectangles and that add up. Again, you wouldn't be wrong, but it's just a little bit more time consuming to find more areas of more shapes. Okay, so either way we break it up. And we're going to show you guys how we're going to look at that in the next coming up lesson. Right now, we're just really focusing on breaking up the shape. Okay, so here's another one. So we have our rectangle and another semicircle. So you have to find the area of the rectangle and then area of the semicircle and add that up. Okay, so now let's see what we have. Special kind of rectangle. This is actually a square because it's 16 by 16. and then we have a triangle. But really, some of you might want to challenge yourself and actually say, well, we could do right here. Let's see, let me go back to this one. What you could actually do is actually make this one a trapezoid. So this is a trapezoid all right here. And then the second one's a rectangle. Kind of challenge yourself that way if you wanted to, but most of you probably would have seen it as a rectangle or a square and a triangle. Then here we have on our grid paper, we actually have 3 shapes, a semicircle, a rectangle, and a triangle. Or here again, you could have really done this one right here as a trapezoid, and then this one as your second one as a semicircle. So just depends on how you look at it, okay? Some people don't want to do it that way because they don't like the area of the trapezoid formula. It's a little bit more challenging, but whatever works best for you. There's actually more than one way to solve these. Okay, so on this one, looks kind of like a snow cone. We actually have that blue one's a triangle and a semicircle. Some people will say that they see 2 triangles, but again, you wouldn't be wrong, but just try to do as few of the shapes as you can, so that way you don't have as many formulas. What I mean by that is some people would say this is a triangle, this is a second triangle, and then this is your third one. So like this shape, right? And then we might say, I'm trying to change my color. This second shape, I might say a rectangle, or excuse me, a triangle right there. And then in that third one, semicircle. Okay, again, you wouldn't be wrong if you broke this triangle up into 2 shapes, but it just makes it a little bit easier to treat it as one. Okay, so right here, we actually have a trapezoid and a rectangle, but you wouldn't be wrong if you broke it up as into a rectangle, a triangle, and another rectangle. Okay. Here again, it doesn't matter how we break them up. You can break them up vertically, like in this first picture right here. Excuse me, horizontally in this top picture and vertically on the bottom. Okay, so that's what we are going to do. So hopefully you guys can go through this and see that we are going to be breaking up the shapes into shapes that we know, identify the shape, use the formula for those shapes that we've identified, and then we're going to add them all together. If you have any questions, please don't forget to reach out to your teacher, and good luck.